this is Dina, and I am going to show you a quick tutorial by request on how to be able to use the Cricut pens to write on a card that has already been made. So to get started with this, the first thing that we need to do is go to the Shapes menu, and we are going to insert a square. Okay, and then I am a visual person. I don't want a gray square, I want a white square. And then I need to resize this to match the same size as my card. So whatever size your card is you need to resize it to make sure that it's the same as half of that card from the crease over. So a standard card made out of 8.5 by 11 will be 4 1/4 by 5.5. So I'm going to unlock right here. You can also unlock right here. And then in the size menu, I'm going to put 4.25, enter, and then I'm going to make it 8.5 and enter. Whoops, I did that wrong. Not 8.5, sorry, 5.5. 5.5, because I'm only doing half of my card. There we go. Okay. So this is what we're going to use as a placement tool, and that's it. We're not actually going to cut this out. We're just going to use it as a placeholder so we know where to put our writing. So I'm going to lock this back up, and then the next thing is I'm going to go to my text button right here, and then when I go up to choose a font, this menu opens up and there's a filter right here. Click the filter, and we are looking for writing fonts only. So click on that, and everything that you see will be a writing font or can be used with pens. So I'm just going to scroll down. It's a lot of work to put together if you wanted a cursive font to actually align the letters properly. So I typically will choose just a basic standard non-cursive font. And just for the purposes of this, I am going to choose this Be Happy. And right here it tells me I'm using a writing style font. So then I go click in my text box and I type out the sentiment that I want. So I'm just going to type wishing you, whoops, I don't like capital A, and then Merry, boy, why do I do that every time? Christmas and a Happy New Year. Okay, and so now I have it here. This is what I typed, but I don't like this alignment, and so I'm going to go up to this alignment button and I'm going to hit center so that it's all centered. Now you might be asking what is going on here. It's just a flaw in Cricut. It will not do that when you write. It will come out properly. So don't worry if those fill in. The other thing, depending on the font that you choose, it's called kerning, when the spacing between your letters. Like this Y is, should be closer in my opinion, but it's because it's got this little, these extra little things up here. You can ungroup these and move them if you want individually, but for the purposes of the video, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as is, spacing wise. But I am going to, obviously this is too big, so I am going to grab my arrow keys down here, arrow button, and I'm just going to shrink that down until it would fit, drag it back over so I can see, and that looks great. If I wanted to, I can unlock it, and I can actually just drag it down a little bit, stretch it out, and make it look like that. And then again, just kind of stick it where I want it, which really won't matter right now. But once I'm happy with the way it looks, lock it back up, okay? And then go to oh, so one thing else I wanted to show you is if you look here on the layers panel, this is set to cut. We do not want to cut those letters out. We want to draw them. So to change that, we have to select it. So you can click it here, and now it's selected with the box around it. And right here under line type, we need to click that drop down and choose draw. So when we choose draw, we also have the option of changing the color of what pen we want to use. And as I said, I'm a visual person, so if I want to use a red pen, I'm going to click red. It honestly doesn't matter if you clicked red, but then you put in a green pen, it's going to draw whatever color of pen you put in there. But like I said, I'm visual, I want to see it as is. Okay, so that's all set. It now says draw right here, and we are good to go. So we are going to go to make it. So when this happens, this is not attached to that rectangle. So it thinks we want to draw this on one piece of paper, and then it thinks we want to cut out this rectangle. We don't want to cut this rectangle out. We're using it for just for placement purposes only. So what we want to do is if we click on it, these three little dots come up. If you click on those, we are going to move this object, and it gives us an option. We can place it on a new mat or the one that's already existing with the writing, and that's what we want. Click on the writing. So then confirm it, and now they're both on the same mat. So all we're doing is using this. When you place your card on your mat, you need to see where the score line is, where the dividing line of your card is. And so for my purposes, I already know that this card starts at about 4¼ inches is where my seam is. So I'm going to move this square over there. And again, it's just for visual purposes right now. Then I'm going to click my writing, and I'm going to drag it to where I want it, where I would want it to be on my card. So I'm going to set it right here, and to me that looks pretty good. So from here, I really don't want it to cut out this rectangle, but I do know that is where I want my writing to happen. So now what I can do is the writing stays right where it is. I'm going to click the rectangle, the three little dots come back up, you click on those, and now we're going to hide this. So we hide it, and it is not going to cut that out anymore. It is just going to write because you already have your card cut out. We just needed it for placing the writing. Okay, so from here we are going to go to continue, and then I have to go in and select my Cricut device, which I am using this one, and it's going to connect. So it's going to ask you to select a base material. You can just select medium cardstock, it should be fine. We're not cutting anything out, we're just using the pen. So the medium cardstock is a good setting for this. And then and if you didn't know how to, like I already have that in my favorites, you can go to popular and it will put a bunch of these in here, and so there's medium cardstock, and select it that way. Okay. Pressure at default, that's, you don't want to change any of that because we're talking about the pens. So from here it's telling you to load your tools and your material. So it's telling you you need the red pen in clamp, I'm using a maker, so mine's in clamp A. No other tool is required for clamp B, and then we're going to load our mat. Okay, so now we're at our mat. I have my card loaded on here. My seam is about at 4¼ and hopefully that's proper for our placement. Every once in a while the pens, like, it doesn't quite set right. So from here we're going to load our mat. Okay, so we're going to load our mat. Our button is blinking, so we're just going to feed that in. And then I have a red pen here, and all these pens come with this arrow on it. So you take your cap off, put it on there so you don't lose it, and right over here at clamp A, I put my finger underneath it and I push up. As I push the pen down, it snaps into place. You cannot see the arrow anymore. Close the clamp, and then we're ready to hit our go button. Okay, so you can see that was a little off. Let me unload this. So it was still a little bit off, and I think if I were to do this again, what I would do is, it still has this 1/4 of an inch border that it does not use. So I think it's taking that into play. And so if I were to take this card, and I'm just going to flip it around, and instead of putting it on the edge, move it in just about that 1/4 of an inch and do it that way, and try it again, and we'll see what happens when I do it that way. We'll see if we get a better alignment. Okay, so you can see that's a much better placement. So my recommendation is to move your card over a 1/4 of an inch from the side, and then you should get a more proper placement of your writing. So I hope this helped you out. If you have any questions, just let me know, and happy crafting.